lovies, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another very exciting, cozy, and probably long reading vlog on my channel. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you clicked on today's video. A very popular series that I've kind of been doing on my channel for the past year and a half is trying to complete book series that I'm currently in the middle of. I believe I'm in the middle of 14 or 15 different book series. I am definitely guilty of picking up multiple book series at a time because I just can't help myself. I feel like I just get so excited to jump in to so many different worlds and characters that I always get ahead of myself and I start so many different book series, and next thing you know, I am literally in the middle of 15. So the whole point of this series is for me to slowly but surely make my way through all of these book series. It's really been so much fun making these videos, so I thought for today's reading vlog we would kind of continue book series that I'm currently in the middle of. There's so many new releases that have recently come out that are in book series I'm currently reading, so this reading vlog is going to be kind of a mix of me completing book series I'm in the middle of, but also reading new releases. All the books I have planned for this video are new releases, which is kind of exciting, and I know 2 of them are the final books in their series, which means we have the potential to actually complete 2 whole book series in this video, which is very exciting for me. That means we will be knocking down to 13 book series I'm currently in the middle of if I finish those 2 books in today's reading vlog. But that's the plan for today's video. It's been very rainy and gloomy here, and honestly I don't even mind it. Having like the rain and the smell of the rain is just so nice and peaceful. I feel like it's perfect cozy reading weather. Also, if you haven't heard the news, my book necklace with Anna Louisa is officially out now. You guys can shop it using the link in my description. What a crazy and wild thing to be saying, that I created a book necklace with one of my favorite jewelry brands, and you guys can literally buy it and wear it too. My goal when designing it was to really make it so that any book lover out there could wear it and wear it with anything. I'm really so happy with how it turned out. It's so cute and dainty. I was able to add in a little heart and a pearl in there, really tie it all together, make it more of a timeless, classy piece. So many of you have already been tagging me in your post of getting it and wearing it, and it has just been such a magical and amazing experience. So definitely check it out if you guys are interested. And with all of that being said, let's hop into our cozy reading vlog. So the first book we are going to read in today's vlog is a book that is probably my most anticipated release of 2025. It's a part of one of my all-time favorite fantasy series, and it actually came out about a month ago, and I literally took a whole month reading the majority of it because I wanted to just soak in every page, every word, every last interaction we basically got with our 2 main characters, because I am so sad for this incredible series to be coming to an end. We are going to be wrapping up Fearless by Lauren Roberts today. We're going to start the vlog off with this book because I only have about 100-ish pages to go in it, and I feel like it's just going to be so much fun reading the final chapters and final words of this series with you guys. So much I could say about this series. You guys know I love it so much. I talk about it any chance I get on my channel. This is the final book that is a part of the Powerless trilogy, and it has been such an incredible adventure and just experience reading this series. I think Lauren Roberts has easily become one of my favorite authors after this series, and it's crazy because I'm pretty sure this is literally her debut series. She's never put out anything else. Honestly, it's like a good mix of The Hunger Games and Divergent. That's probably the best way to explain the Powerless trilogy, and I love it so very much, probably because I grew up with The Hunger Games and the Divergent series. Those were 2 of my all-time favorite things coming out when I was younger, and I think just having a series come out now that is so similar to those books makes my heart so happy. It makes me feel like a kid again, and honestly I wish we could get a movie series on this because I think it would be incredible and the world would probably devour it. But very similar to The Hunger Games, very similar to the Divergent series. I would just say it has like a touch more romance in it. The plot twist that we've been getting in it has just been absolutely insane, especially in Fearless, the final book. so far has been quite the roller coaster. I really like that we're kind of going back to the roots from book one. We're kind of revisiting those Hunger Game vibes. Our FMC Peyton is kind of going through trials again. It's just been so much fun kind of visiting those vibes again. If you're familiar with the series, if you've read it, you kind of already have an idea of what's going on. If you've read this book already, you know what's going to happen. I can't imagine how it's going to end. I'm very scared, to say the least, but the way that book two leaves off is quite crazy. We are left off on quite the cliffhanger of the year, I believe, and the way that this book has been going so far following that cliffhanger is so different from what I expected it to be, but in a good way. I'm really excited to see how Lauren Roberts wraps this series up and how she wraps up these character storylines, because as of right now, I quite literally have no idea what she's going to do, and we only have 100 pages left, so I feel like things are about to get very crazy very fast. Obviously, you guys know who I'm rooting for in the end, but I just don't know how she's going to make it happen, and part of me is nervous that she's going to do something twisted and break all of our hearts. I'm hoping she doesn't, because I do feel like Lauren Roberts has been really good at kind of doing fan service in her books. I feel like she's been doing such a great job at giving us as the readers exactly what we've wanted out of this series. So I'm hoping in the end of this, we're all left happy and content and hopefully not brokenhearted like most authors will leave us in fantasy series. We are going to wrap this up though as our first read in the video today, and it's also going to be the completion of a book series I'm currently in the middle of. We are going to hop right into it. We're going to read the last 100 pages and then I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about it, kind of dissect it, maybe talk spoilers. I haven't decided if I want to do spoilers in this or not yet. Talk about my rating, my review of the entire series as a whole, and yeah, hopefully we don't start this video off sobbing. I can't believe that's it. I can't believe the series is over. I'm very sad about that. The ending of this though, on the other hand, I'm also kind of sad with in a way, just because it was a good ending, but it was also really sad, and I feel like I just have so many different feelings about how this ended and how Lauren Roberts decided to kind of conclude these character stories. We'll start with a rating, 5 stars. Every book in the Powerless series has been 5 stars for me, and I feel like it just wouldn't be right for me to rate this anything under 5 stars, because we really go on such an emotional journey / roller coaster with every character in this story. There were some parts where I was a little iffy on. Overall, I think the writing that she did in this book just deserves 5 stars, because you can tell that she really went outside of her comfort zone with writing this book compared to the other 2 books, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great conclusion to an incredible series, incredible characters. I'm sad it's over. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to be thinking about them for a very, very long time. Hence why it took me literally a whole month to read this book. 5 stars for the character development in the series as well. Our FMC Peyton, it is incredible, guys, to see her grow throughout book 1, book 2, and then especially in book 3. She just radiates confidence, and I think her character is absolutely incredible in book 3. I love the way that we were able to watch her grow throughout the series and really just become the strong woman we all knew she was from book 1. Our MMC, he'll always be a 5 star, guys. I think something that's really funny about Kai is that he is such a hopeless romantic throughout the series. I feel like you wouldn't expect expect his character to be that way, but there are just so many amazing scenes with Kai where you're just melting on the pages reading about him, because everything he says, every little interaction between him and Peyton only could be written by a woman. I will say that. Something else I really enjoyed about this book specifically as well is that we actually get a third point of view throughout this story, and I was not expecting it, but it was really fascinating. The books are always dual point of views, but in this one, there's a third one added that we get every 100-ish pages, I want to say. It really just adds to the story and keeps you on your toes. I feel like it answers so many questions that you kind of gather throughout book 1 and book 2. You finally get them answered in this specific character's point of view chapters, and it was just such a wild ride. They were probably the most pivotal chapters in the entire book, and we only get like 5 or 6 of them, I think. You always found out the craziest things in them. The brother aspect and the love triangle trope that we get in this series, mind blown, heart shattered. That was probably one of the best tropes and best parts of this series. I think especially in this book we see so much between the two brothers and all of their hardships, everything that they've gone through throughout life. We finally get those missing pieces to each of them that we've kind of been wondering about throughout book 1 and book 2. I feel like although book 3 was definitely a little bit different compared to book 1 and book 2, writing style wise and vibe wise, it just felt right considering the way that our characters kind of turn in this story. I think it's all just really bittersweet to be ending such a great series that way. And again, I think this book deserves 5 stars because of the writing in it. I think it is just so drastically different compared to book 1 and book 2 that it deserves that hype and it deserves that type of rating. Hate when books get kind of sad, and this book specifically definitely had a different turn of events in it that I was not expecting. But truly, I think this was such a well written and fantastic storyline. I don't know if it would be my favorite book out of the series. I think book 2 would probably be my favorite book out of this entire series. That book was just something else. I was obsessed with like the cat and mouse trope in it. I was obsessed with the banter we got in it, and just like the yearning and obsession we got between our two main characters. I loved the romance in book 2 so very much, and it's so funny because I know a ton of people didn't actually enjoy book 2, but for me it was literally like top tier, one of my favorite books of all time. And it's definitely a book that I still think about a lot because there's just so many beautifully written quotes that I've taken from that book. Again, could only be written by a woman. I think it was such a lovely experience, and I am so very excited to see what Lauren Roberts comes out with next, what she has in store for us next. This has been bugging me the entire time I've been filming this video, so I have to revisit Fearless and talk some spoilers with you guys for this book specifically because I feel like so much crazy stuff happened in it and I just need to get it out. So if you haven't read the book yet, or if you don't want any spoilers for Fearless, Powerless, anything like that, skip ahead about a minute or two because I'm about to just put all the spoilers out there. So something that is really bugging me about the way that Fearless ended is Kit's whole storyline and how Lauren Roberts decided to write him off by basically killing him. But not even just like killing him, she makes it so that Kai is the one to kill him. And I don't know why, but that's really bothering me. And I kind of hate that Kit had to die at all in the story. And I guess part of me is like, well, duh, how else would Kai and Peyton have worked out in the end? How else would any of it have worked out? And I did really like the storyline of Kit kind of turning into that crazy mad king. But at the same time, I think the little girl in me was just hoping that it would get resolved in a better way instead of him just getting killed off. Am I the only one who feels this way? Do you guys also feel like killing Kit off was horrible? Like, I'm really upset that she decided to do that to us, honestly. Again, I don't know how else the story would have worked out if he had lived. I don't know how it would have worked out with Peyton and Kai and like the throne and all that stuff, but Kit's story made me really, really sad, and I'm still thinking about it. I also thought the chapters that we would get from Edric's point of view was insane, but I'm also not surprised that Peyton ended up being like a lost princess. I don't know why, but I had that theory since book 1. I thought that was a really cool part of the story, but at the same time, I almost wish there was like something more to it. Like, I wish that Peyton was recognized as the lost princess in the end to the whole kingdom or something. Ending was also really sweet between her and Kai and how they have a daughter, but also I want to read about that. So can we have more? That's all the spoilers I was really going to talk. If you guys want to talk other spoilers, comment down below what you want to talk about, but make sure you put like a little spoiler warning so we don't ruin it for people who haven't read it yet. But I know there are so many crazy things that happened in this book that everyone's kind of talking about right now. So leave your comments down below. So now that we've completed our first book, our first series of the vlog, we're gonna move on to another favorite one of mine, and it is Wild and Wrinkled by Lila Sage. This is the final book in her Rebel Blue Ranch novel series, and I love books like this. I love small town tropes, I love cowboy romances, and I just feel like reading this book right now while we're in 80-degree weather. The vibes are gonna be immaculate. I know they're gonna be amazing. This is the very last book in its series, which makes me so sad. It's another series that I have just grown to love. I love these characters. I love this universe. It's a very cozy comfort type of series for me. I'm so sad that we have reached the final book, but at the same time, I'm also so excited because I have been waiting for this couple's story since book 1. Wild and Wrinkled is all about Cam and Dusty, and we have literally been getting breadcrumbs of them since book 1. No joke. We just get these little scenes and moments between the two of them, and then we're left hanging. I think it's so funny when authors do that to us, when they give us little sneak peeks of couples that are to come in the series, because they give you like a really crazy scene between the two of them and then leave you off on a cliffhanger, and you're kind of just there like, what am I supposed to do? And I didn't know in book 1 that Cam and Dusty would be our very last couple. So the entire series, I've just been waiting for their story. It's a second chance romance, and there's just so much like mystery behind these two characters. I can't wait to finally read, because it seems like they have a pretty crazy, scandalous, hectic history, and I'm just so excited to finally jump into it. But from my understanding, it kind of seems like maybe they were past lovers when they were younger, and then Cam was sort of like the one who got away from Dusty, and now that they're back in the same small town, the same ranch, we're gonna see how they navigate being in close proximity to one another again, because it seems like all those years ago when they were together, they never got like closure on their relationship. I don't even know if they were actually together, but I'm getting that vibe that they were possibly together in the past, and that's why they have like so much baggage and history with one another. But I'm so excited to hop into this. We get the small town vibes, we get the cowboy vibes, we get the cozy vibes, we get the found family vibes, which I have to say I love the found family in this series so far. I've truly fallen in love with every couple and every character out of this series. They all just have their own fun and unique personalities and quirks to them, and I can't wait to kind of revisit them in this, because I know since it's the last book, hopefully we get little tidbits of all of our favorite characters and our couples one last time. Such a fun series. I'm so sad but also so excited to wrap it up with you guys today. If you're not familiar with this series, I always recommend it to people who are big fans of Elsie Silver, especially her Chestnut Spring series, because it's so similar with the tropes and the characters that were given in it, and I just feel like Lila Sage has a really easygoing and similar writing style to Elsie Silver, and for me, I love Elsie Silver, so naturally I knew I was gonna love Lila Sage. I always recommend Lila Sage to people who also love Elsie Silver, because they're definitely in the same type of genre, and they both are just such incredible writers, and I love their characters and their stories so very much. But we're gonna hop right into the final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch novels and finally see what the deal is with Dusty and Cam. Okay guys, I made it to chapter 20, page 139. We've actually made a pretty big dent in the book in just the last couple hours. I feel like I always fly through Lila Sage books. She just has a super fast-paced and easygoing writing style where I never really get lost or confused in her storylines. They're pretty straightforward, which I really enjoy. So we're definitely getting that second chance trope in here, as well as like a friends to lovers trope mixed in with it, which I really like. Usually I'm not really big on the second chance trope, but there's definitely something about Dusty and Cam's story that I'm really enjoying, and I think it's mainly because it's kind of more on the emotional side. They met when they were super young and they were basically each other's like first loves and everything, so I feel like I just have a better understanding of where they're coming from now, and both of their stories and backgrounds are so totally different from one another. I feel like they both have a lot of baggage, but very different types of baggage. Cam is coming from a super wealthy family where they kind of try to control her with money, which is super sad. It doesn't seem like they have a very good loving relationship with her, and it just seems that they only ever care about money, how to make more money. She's kind of coming from a sadder at home life, whereas Dusty's kind of coming from that small town home life. He has great parents. When him and Cam kind of cross paths and they start intertwining their worlds together, we quickly see how different they both are and how different their families are. I feel like I'm connecting to it on so many different levels, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I love when I can connect to characters when reading. I feel like I always end up enjoying the story more because I'm making personal connections with them, and I'm making so many with Cam and her family life, but I'm also making a ton with Dusty and his family life. But this has been so good already. It is a dual point of view between Cam and Dusty. I think every book in this series is dual point of view between the main couples, so I love that. I love when we get the storyline from both our main characters, but we're also getting a few chapters where we're jumping between time periods. So the main story is taking time in current time at Rebel Blue when Cam and Dusty are much older now, but occasionally we will jump back in time to when they first met, and all of their little encounters from when they were younger is so stinking sweet. I'm honestly living for those flashback chapters because we're getting so much history and background on both of them, and we're kind of starting to figure out and discover what happened to them all those years ago. I feel like the flashback chapters are definitely leading up to something even bigger, probably the big conflict they have that causes them to separate. I'm really surprised that I'm enjoying the second chance trope so much though. It's usually like my least favorite trope when it comes to reading, but theirs is just so sweet and innocent and pure, and I think that's why I'm really enjoying it. I think the only time I don't like the second chance trope is when there's a lot of betrayal, lying, cheating, stuff like that kind of involved, because it's just not my favorite. I don't really like the second chance trope in that aspect, but when it's kind of like this, when they're super young and something almost out of their control happens, it just feels different. I don't know. I really like it though so far. Aside from the flashback chapters though, and you know, younger Cam and Dusty, the current time Cam and Dusty have some issues for sure, but I feel like we're slowly kind of working through them. I'm really excited to read chapter 20 though, because it's going to be a Christmas chapter. They're all celebrating the holidays at the Ryder house, and I feel like it's going to be a really cute and cozy chapter just because there's been little tidbits throughout the previous chapters leading up to it where I feel like we're kind of making progress with Cam and Dusty. Throughout the first 3 books in the series and even the beginning part of this one, Cam has gone out of her way to avoid Dusty, and it's definitely because she has some unresolved feelings and issues built up where she just doesn't want to confront them yet. She's not ready. So she has been avoiding Dusty for so long. In the chapters leading up to chapter 20, we have just been getting so many scenes where Cam is kind of forced in to being around Dusty. We're getting a lot of forced proximity in this book, which I also really like, especially with Cam's whole living situation. It's pretty funny and I'm living for it. I'm super excited to see how the Christmas chapter plays out because there's just been so many little things that have kind of happened throughout previous chapters, and I can't wait to see them kind of brought up during during this chapter, but so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more than the other books so far, which I think is a really good sign. It could mean that we're maybe on the road to this being a 5-star, which would be the first 5-star out of the series. I think I've rated every book so far like 4 stars. There's just been so much time though that has passed between Cam and Dusty. You know, they're a lot older now. They've experienced so much life, and in a way I feel like they're kind of getting to know each other again for the first time, because they're totally different people than who they were when they were younger, but at the same time they're kind of pulling out those younger sides to them, which I think is so sweet. Okay friends, it is the loveliest day out today. The weather is absolutely perfect. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, the sun is shining, the birds are out and chirping. So I thought it'd be really fun to kind of get outside and do some reading at the park, mainly because I do so much of my reading inside in my book room or on my couch, and I'm like, you know what, let's get a little change of scenery, especially because this book, I just feel like we need to be outdoors reading a cowboy romance. Even though it does take place during the winter time, I feel like the cowboy vibes in it just has to be read outside. So that's what we are doing today. You guys know we made it to chapter 21. We're on a Cam chapter, and I have to say I'm actually really enjoying the second chance trope in this, which is pretty new for me. I'm not usually a big fan of that trope, but I feel like because it's one of those where when they first met they were super young, and now we are super ahead in the future when they're much older and they've kind of, you know, evolved into totally different people. I think there's just something about that and the ages and the time that has gone by that I'm just really enjoying and almost kind of resonate with myself. Not like romantically, but friendship wise, I kind of connect to Dusty and Cam and what they're going through, what they're feeling during this time, because I've definitely been there where I was super close with someone when I was a lot younger, and then fast forward like 10 years, we haven't talked, we haven't really seen each other, but we're kind of rebuilding a friendship like that, and I feel like I just connect to them on so many like little things that they're experiencing in this book, because it is very similar even though it's not romantically for me. I definitely understand it from like the friendship point of view, and I think that's why I'm also really enjoying this a lot more. You guys also know I'm like a total sucker for a really good slow burn, so I'm living for the romance aspect that we are getting in this so far. We're almost halfway through and nothing too crazy has happened just yet, but I love the tension that's really building up in it. I love like the tension and the yearning that comes with reading a slow burn romance. The time jumps between now and then, I'm also loving it. I haven't read something in this type of style in a really long time, and it almost reminds me of Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Very different story, obviously, very different plot and everything in between, but definitely a similar setup of the story in my opinion. The way that we're kind of jumping between now and then, the age differences that we're getting, and I'm just really enjoying it because I haven't read something like that in like a really long time, and we're also coming from a romantasy book, so this is kind of like a nice little palate cleanser in my opinion. I love breaking up fantasy books with romances like this because I feel like there's just so much that happens in fantasy books, and I don't like jumping fantasy book to fantasy book because it's like overwhelming for me for some reason. Anyways, I thought this would also be the perfect time to do our first little reading sprint of the video. I am so excited to do this with you guys again. I haven't done one of these in a really long time, and so many of you had requested it from me and said that you really enjoyed it. I do have my little timer set up on my phone for 10 minutes, and basically if you've never heard of a reading sprint before, if you've never done this before, I pick up my book, you pick up a book, and for 10 minutes we kind of just sit and read together. I love doing this because I think it's a lot of fun. It's also very motivating to get some reading done. I don't know if it's like this for you guys, but for me personally it almost feels like we're sitting together and reading at the park, and I feel like that's so cool and special. I don't know. I thought this would be a great time to kind of pop one in here. So get comfy where you are, grab a good book, maybe if you can go sit outside, and we are gonna hop right into our reading sprint. That was a really, really sad chapter. We made it to chapter 31, page 240. We read around 4 or 5 chapters at the park, and then we came home and I read a little bit more. I don't know how I had the strength last night to stop reading this and put this book down. Truly, I think my eyes were just kind of giving out on me and starting to close, but we've hit such a pivotal and like good part of the story, which is so funny because the last time we chatted, I'm pretty sure I told you guys that nothing too crazy had really happened yet, but I was enjoying that because I love a really, really good slow burn. Since then though, some crazy stuff has happened. We have definitely escalated, which I love when that happens in a story, when everything seems kind of steady and then all of a sudden everything is like escalating, everyone's escalating. It feels like a huge storm hit the story and everything is just everywhere now. That's basically what happened in the last 10 chapters of this, and I'm just so happy that we're finally hitting like the juicy parts of this book, because obviously when it comes to slow burns, you're kind of feeding off that buildup, and then when it finally explodes and something happens, you're just like literally giggling, kicking my feet last night when everything kind of happened, and now we are still kind of in the middle of it. I'm pretty sure we're on to a flashback chapter, which makes me a little nervous because now I feel like that we've got the really good parts, you know, the climax of the story. I feel like we're gonna start getting the build up to something bad or crazy, and I'm just not ready for that. Like, these books are so short as it is. I think they're only like 300 or 400 pages, so whenever the bad stuff starts to happen, happen. I get so overwhelmed with it. I will say we have about 100 pages to go, and I feel like this is going to be probably a 5-star for me, but that's huge because it will be my first 5-star of the Rebel Blue series, because every other book in the series so far has been a 4-star or a 4.5. This is feeling very 5-starry to me, and I think it's because it's more emotional. I feel like there's more of an emotional build-up, and maybe it's because we're getting that second chance trope, we're getting that friends to lovers trope. I just feel more emotion reading this, and I'm really enjoying the romance and the characters. They're just so stinking sweet. Honestly, kind of sad that this series is ending on me, but I can definitely see myself kind of coming back to it in the future and rereading it, because it really just gives off all the feel-good, cozy vibes that I crave when it comes to romances like these. You guys also know that the small town trope is like my favorite trope when it comes to reading romance, and this whole series takes place in the small town of Meadowlark. That's probably another reason why I just like love the cozy vibes out of this. Anyways, in the last 10 chapters, you guys have missed a lot. You will have to read this incredible series to figure out what happened, but basically a lot of things escalated, and I'm just so proud of our FMC Cam. I feel like in these last 10 chapters we've seen a really big jump in her character development. She's really growing into a stronger woman in this book, and I'm just loving that so much because she definitely comes from a family where she kind of feels controlled by them and controlled by their money. So to kind of see her character stand up for herself and what she believes in, it just felt really, really good. These past few chapters I feel like I've been literally waiting for since book 1, so I'm just so happy to have finally gotten to them and just kind of read the scenes play out that I've been craving since book 1. But we're on page 240. We have a little bit under 100 pages to go. I do feel like in chapter 31 we're gonna start to see a little bit of a decline, because we've been on the high for a few chapters now where everything is just kind of settling into place. It feels good, it feels right. Naturally, something's got to come along and mess it up. So I feel like chapter 31 is going to be the start of the downfall in this story, but we are gonna hop right into it. I'm gonna try and finish this book up tonight. It's been raining and storming all day. It's finally calmed down. The sun came out for a little bit, and now it is setting and kind of drying up everything. I think I might do a little bit of reading out on the patio because I love the smell after it rains. It just smells so like clean and dewy. I don't know, it's such a specific smell that I just love and have missed since moving to the west and then moving back to the east. In Colorado, it didn't rain too much while we were there, but even if it did, it just didn't have the same aftermath and smell that it does here. I have missed the smell of rain, so I'm gonna go enjoy it, and we are gonna wrap up Wild and Wrangled. I told you guys this was going to be the chapter where things start to go downhill. thought this would be very fitting to wear while we talk about my final thoughts and my final review of Wild and Wrinkled. I finished it up last night, and it's so funny because I feel like I almost jinxed myself last time we chatted. I literally told you guys that I felt like this was gonna be a 5-star read. It was feeling very 5-starry to me, and I finished it up, and it turns out that this is not in fact a 5-star read for me. I spoke too soon. Knowing my reading history, I should know better than to assume that a book is going to be 5 stars for me, because usually I will predict that before even getting to the crazy ending of a book, and then I don't end up liking the ending. I did go back and look at my other reviews of the books in the series, and I ended up rating every book in the series 4 stars. I think for Wild and Wrinkled, I'm gonna land on a 4.5 star rating just because I did like this book probably the most out of the entire series. It's definitely between this one and Lost and Lassoed. I love Teddy and Gus's story. I'm such a sucker for the single dad trope, the enemies to lovers trope, and the banter we get in Lost and Lassoed was just so good. It was top notch. I just love and adore Teddy Anderson. She is such a badass, fun FMC. This though, I really liked that it was more on the emotional side. I like that it's a second chance trope, it's a friends to lovers trope. I think the character development we get throughout the story, especially from Cam, is just really good. I really liked her character. I think after reading the other 3 books and getting little breadcrumbs of her and Dusty's story, I was very satisfied with it and happy with how their characters kind of ended up. What keeps this from being a 5-star for me the ending was so rushed, and I know these books are super short. Again, they're like 350 pages, I want to say. They're short romance books. They're not meant to have a lot to them, but the way that this kind of ended, it felt very rushed and just like not finished completely. I feel like there were kind of some loose ends in here that you kind of are left hanging with at the end. I was definitely more curious about Cam's family situation by the end of this, and there's just like a whole bunch of other little things I feel like we don't get a lot of closure on, so that kind of bugged me. The big issue and hiccup they kind of run into was literally like 1 chapter, maybe a chapter and a half, I guess you could say, but it was just so underwhelming. Reading those 2 chapters too kind of made me look at Cam a little bit differently because it felt very over dramatic, overreacted. I don't know, I just didn't really like the big issue that they kind of ran into. I was kind of hoping it was going to be something a little bit more crazier and scandalous. Aside from it not even being like a big thing or big ordeal, it was so rushed. Again, it was like a chapter and a half, and I was like, and then the book ended. Like, what? Everything ended so quickly, and I feel like for this being the last book in its series, it just should have had more to it. It should have been a little bit longer, and I kind of wish it wrapped up like everybody's story. We did get a bonus chapter at the very end, and it does take us back to our characters from book 1, which I did very much enjoy. That was also super emotional, and I thought the whole like scenes between all our characters was just so bittersweet. I feel like that was a good way to kind of wrap up the series, but for Dusty and Cam's story specifically, I just wanted a little bit more at the end. I feel like I said the same thing with every book in the series. I always wanted something more. I feel like the endings were always rushed in every book, and it kind of just left me almost unsatisfied, I guess you could say. Wild and Wrinkled, we finished her up. She is a 4.5 star read for me. Love the Rebel Blue Ranch series overall though. I could not recommend it enough. If you are a big fan of Elsie Silver books, especially if you like the Chestnut Spring series, this series is literally top notch. I could not recommend it enough. It has very similar vibes, tropes, characters, stuff like that, and I just really love the small town mountain vibes. I love the romance tropes we got in these, and all of our characters are very likable and relatable. I truly feel like you can't go wrong with the series. You will find a couple or character out of it that you like and connect to. I'm so happy we completed our 2nd book series in today's video. Speaking of Elsie Silver, we're gonna keep the cowboy vibes, the small town vibes kind of rolling, and we're gonna hop into Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is book 3 in her Rose Hill series. It's been out for a little bit now, and I've kind of just been hanging on to it because I knew I wanted to read it in a reading vlog like this. The series is her newest one after the Chestnut Spring series. I'd say I'm enjoying this series so far, but it's definitely not topping the Chestnut Spring series for me. What I like about her writing and her books too is that they're all kind of interconnected. Every series takes place in the same universe, but they take place in their own separate little towns. And I think it's really fun because we get mentions here and there of characters from other series, and I just think that's really cool. I like when authors kind of build a whole universe like that. Wildside is her newest one though, and it is the third book in the series. This is all about Tabitha and Reese. What's really funny about this, and what's really funny about life overall, I feel like when it comes to reading for me, our MMC in this, I believe, is a luchador, and I just thought that was so funny when I found that out because I recently started getting into wrestling because of Chris. He's kind of been getting on his wrestling kick again, so we've been watching a lot of wrestling, WWE, stuff like that. When this book came out and I saw that our MMC was going to be a wrestler, I was kind of like, what the heck? What are the odds of that happening when I'm kind of in my wrestling era right now, which is so weird to say, but don't knock it till you try it, guys. It's actually really entertaining. This is all about Tabitha and Reese. Tabitha is kind of in the middle of like a custody issue, I believe, and her only solution is to marry her nemesis, who happens to be our MMC, Reese. Reese gives off this very secretive, broody type of vibe, and basically him and Tabitha just don't really get along, I think. They don't like each other, so we're already getting an enemies to lovers in here, which I think is kind of fun. I love tropes like this. I love when there's enemies to lovers. I love when it's kind of like forced marriage, forced proximity, and I just know the banter is gonna be so good because Elsie Silver does really good banter in books, in my opinion. Elsie Silver usually never disappoints for me, and I thought it'd just be kind of fun to jump from one small town romance to another, especially because these two authors have created worlds that feel so similar and cozy and homey to me. Also just fitting for the weather and the vibes recently because it's like 80 out right now, and I love reading cowboy small town mountain romances during this type of weather. I just feel like the vibes are so perfect. But we are gonna hop right into this, see what happens in it, see if it's gonna be a good one or not. I usually fly through Elsie Silver books. It looks like this one is around 450 pages, so we will see. But we're headed out to do a little grocery shopping and pick up a few things, and then when we get back, we're gonna start the next book. So I'm gonna take you guys along with me for all this stuff too. Okay friends, we are doing our first Wildside check-in. I made it to chapter 13, page 102. We're on a Tabitha chapter. We're getting a dual point of view in here between her and Reese. The book starts out very different compared to the other books in this series. Totally caught me off guard as well. It honestly felt a completely different writing style. It didn't even feel like Elsie Silver wrote this book, which is so weird. forward. It took me until page 55, chapter 8, it was a Reese chapter, to kind of get that Elsie Silver feel out of it. There was just something in the first 50 pages of this book that didn't feel like Elsie Silver to me, and I don't know if other people felt that way reading this, but I just felt like I was reading something completely different. I didn't feel like this was even a part of the same series at the time. And then when we get to chapter 8, it starts to kind of fall into that Elsie Silver vibe that we all love and adore. Basically in chapter 8, Reese is thrown into the all dad bowling group, which if you've read book 1 and book 2, you have read about this bowling group. It's probably one of the most consistent things in this series right now, and it is absolutely hilarious. The vibes that this bowling group gives off honestly makes me want to join a bowling group. I'm not even kidding. It is just so funny reading about all the interactions between all the dads, and of course it includes our MMCs from book 1 and book 2, and then we also have Bash, and then now we have Reese. But basically this is kind of when we touch base with past characters and things start to really lighten up a bit, because those first 50 pages, I'm not even kidding, they were kind of dark. They were kind of sad. I was not vibing too well with it, and your girl was getting pretty nervous reading this book. I don't know if this is gonna be a winner for me, but chapter 8 did give me a little bit of hope, so hopefully it's uphill from here. I always love revisiting past characters in book series. It's just so comforting in my opinion, so being able to revisit our MMCs from book 1 and book 2 made my heart so very happy. The giggles are really starting to come out in that chapter. I feel like Reese was also starting to lighten up because he has a very grumpy, almost angry type of vibe to him. He's very secretive and to himself, so it was fun to see him open up a little bit in that chapter. Before chapter 8, the book starts out very heavy, very emotional, which I was not prepared for at all. Our two main characters in this, Tabitha and Reese, it seems like they both come with a lot of baggage, a lot of history, and the miscommunication between the two of them is already driving me bonkers, and it seems like they're kind of keeping a lot to themselves instead of telling each other. You know, that thing called communication. They're not really doing a whole lot of it right now, so it's kind of causing a lot more issues that probably wouldn't be caused if they just talk to each other. There's a lot of tension and attraction between our two main characters though, like right from the beginning, which also throws me off because they clearly don't like each other because they don't communicate. Like if they just communicated, they would probably like each other and everything would be solved and well in the world. They're both essentially standing in the way of the other person and what they want, so that's kind of the main issue we're trying to tackle right now. And I do feel like as we keep reading on and going throughout the story, we're going to uncover so much about both characters, and we might even find that they have more in common with each other than they think possible. Also, only like a few little tidbits of wrestling so far. We're only 100 pages in, so I don't know how much I was really expecting to get by now, but not really a whole lot has been mentioned with his wrestling career yet, so that's going to be a lot of fun to kind of dive into and discover more about. Reese is also not a luchador. I found that out very, very quickly. He just prefers to wear a mask when he's wrestling because he likes to keep his identity a secret from the world. His stage name is Wildside, which I thought was kind of cheesy and corny. Basically, I don't know how I feel yet about the whole wrestling portion of this. We've only gotten a little bit, but the little bits that we have gotten, I'm kind of indifferent right now about it. Overall, I don't really know how to feel about this story yet because it just started off so crazy and so different from any other Elsie Silver book I've ever read. But as of right now, I am more invested in the mystery aspect of Tabitha's sister. I'm more invested in that part of the story than I am the romance or the wrestling part. And it's really weird because I usually love enemies to lovers, but this one is just really, really weird in my opinion. There is something kind of off about their tension and attraction to me. I feel like it was very insta-lovey in the beginning, and now they just hate each other, and I don't know. I'm indifferent about it all right now, but we're only 100 pages in, so we are gonna keep going, see what happens next. Hopefully things just get better from here. We're gonna do another little reading sprint together because the weather is so perfect and beautiful. I just want to sit out here for a little bit and get some reading done. We're gonna keep going in Wildside. Fingers crossed that it starts to get better because I am a little bit nervous right now, but I'm not giving up hope yet. It's Elsie Silver. She usually is always a favorite for me no matter what, so we're gonna see what happens. I have my little timer set up on my phone, so grab a good book, grab a snack, and let's hop in to our second little reading sprint. Long time no chat, besties. We are on chapter 46, page 422. When we talked last, I was literally just starting this book. I think I had only made it like 100 or 150 pages in, and I've taken the last 2 days to read this book, and now I'm touching base with you. We only have a couple chapters left, I think like maybe 15-20 pages, so I wanted to touch base with you guys and then finish the book up and let you know how I'm feeling about it. Last time we chatted, I was telling you guys how I wasn't feeling too great about this book yet, but I still was trying to be optimistic and keep my hopes up because Elsie Silver never lets me down usually. After almost completing this book, I can confirm that this is probably the biggest Elsie Silver letdown of my life, which is pretty crazy to be saying because you guys know that I usually rave about Elsie Silver on my channel, but there's just something about the Rose Hill series specifically that I just haven't been too crazy about. This doesn't feel like an Elsie Silver book. It doesn't even feel like it belongs in the Rose Hill series. The vibes are so different. The characters are really different and weird. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be a pretty low rated book for me, but like I said, I still have this little bit to go, so I'm gonna finish it up with you guys and then we'll talk all about the rating. Okay friends, we officially finished up Wild Side by Elsie Silver. The last 3 chapters did not change my opinion on the book, unfortunately. I did think it was a really nice way to wrap up the book, wrap up the story, and wrap up our characters, but it also felt really rushed in a way. I think it's chapter 45. We have something pretty major and like huge happen and then it's immediately resolved within a chapter, which kind of bugged me. I feel like I just expect way more because it's Elsie Silver. It was okay. It's definitely not my favorite Elsie Silver book. It's definitely not my favorite book out of the Rose Hill series, but it was okay. My final rating on it, I think, is going to be 2 stars, which is my lowest rating for an Elsie Silver book. But again, I just didn't really vibe with it or enjoy it. I thought the storyline had so much potential, but there are just so many things that I feel like she either rushed or just left out. The wrestling aspect I think was such a cool theme, but I wish that she explored it more. She didn't really do much with the wrestling theme in this. Also, the romance just wasn't my favorite, which was very disappointing because it was an enemies to lovers, a marriage of convenience, but in my opinion, I just thought it was really poorly written and weird. The vibes with our 2 main characters and like their chemistry was just a little off to me. Again, I feel like this story had so much potential. It's just the way that she went about executing it wasn't my favorite. Something I did actually really like was her author's note, which is so random. I never talk about author's notes, but at the end of her book, she had an author's note and she brought up how Roman Reigns was like her inspo for Reese in the story. And I thought it was really cool and fascinating to read that part because that's exactly how I pictured him in this story. I really wish that she just expanded more on the wrestling theme. I think it would have been so cool and so fun. And I feel like I also had like more high hopes for like wrestling scenes in this story. I don't know. I feel like I just got ahead of myself with that, but I thought it was really cool that she talked about Roman Reigns, she talked about Becky Lynch, and she also just talked about how wrestling was something she was super into as a child and now she's getting back into it herself and showing it to her own children. So I thought that was a really cool little thing to learn about her. Unfortunately, it wasn't a hit for me. It was only 2 stars, but I'm not gonna let this like tarnish my love for Elsie Silver because I love her other books and I'm still very hopeful for her future books. But with all that being said, that is our 3rd and final book of today's reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. If you read any of the 3 books that I read in today's vlog, comment down below which ones you liked, what you rated them, what you disliked. I know that they're all a part of a very popular book talkie series. They're all new releases, so definitely let me know down below what you guys think about them. Fearless was a 5-star. I just love that series so very much. Wild and Wrangled, I'm actually going to land on a 4-star rating. I know earlier on I said it was going to be 4.5, but I decided to put it down to a 4-star just because I came to the conclusion that it's actually not my favorite in the whole series. That Lost and Lassoed is hands down my favorite book out of that series because again, Teddy and Gus, the vibes, they're just perfect. If anything, I would go back and re-rate that book 4.5 and then the rest of the books in the series would probably be 4 stars. Wild and Wrangled was 4 stars and then Wild Side by Elsie Silver is a 2-star read for me. Overall, I feel like it was a very productive and fun little reading vlog. We completed 2 book series in this video, which is very, very exciting. And I can't wait to continue on the series and see how many other book series we can knock off before 2025 ends. I'm always looking for fun new ways to get through my physical TBR. So definitely let me know what ideas you guys have up your sleeves. With all that being said, I love you guys so, so very much, and I'll see you in the next one.